Hey guys, I'm Syama, CEO of Scaling Retail. And most of you guys over the last 12 months have been really struggling with this new work from home concept. Not only in terms of how you're managing your own new globally distributed teams, but also likely if you're a very small entrepreneur, meaning you're just getting started, you might be doing your work from home between your full-time job and starting your business. Work from home is not something that is a very new concept for those of you guys who have been running your small companies for quite some time, because quite simply, unless you have an office or a studio, you are working from home, and that's totally fine and really great. But if your business is a little bit larger and you're used to going into an office and now all of a sudden your teams are now working from home, and for some folks, especially those in major metropolitan cities, when people are working from home, many of them move back to the Midwest, or they move to other places in the country, or they moved internationally in order to be able to take advantage of the opportunities to now do work from home. Now, as your company policies are kind of shifting and changing, you might be asking yourself, how do I start to manage this new globally distributed team that used to come into the office, or even domestically distributed team that used to come into the office that is now looking to expand their horizons and work in a very different way? Well, it's going to be a little bit challenging because, guys, let me tell you, even though a huge percentage of people are starting to return back to major cities, we are seeing the development of other secondary and tertiary markets that are now being flooded with new people who are living there, looking to work from home, and certainly maintain the level of relationships with their employers. Now, what does that mean for you, and how can you actually start to build and create an ecosystem that's going to be scalable under this kind of hybrid work from home? Who knows what we're going to call it? Well, let's unpack the following. The first thing is to think about, really from a business operations standpoint, where you have nexus, right? Where you're paying your taxes. Unfortunately, if you have a lot of full-time employees that are living in other states, you're actually going to have to be paying taxes in those other states as well. This is one primary reason why people do not want to hire out-of-state workforce, because of the challenges that it poses when it comes to filing taxes and what it means in terms of paying into those state programs. So, first consideration, certainly which states are people working from home into. Contact your tax attorney and really make sure that you're set up on the back end so that allowing people to work from home isn't going to bite you in the tuchus when it comes time to tax reporting. Now, the second thing to think about is obviously, where is your creative team? Certainly when you look organizationally, you have contributors who are obviously great at working independently, and then obviously you have contributors that need to be in a team environment. Those team environments typically find themselves vis-a-vis the departments of creative, of design, potentially of your production teams, right? Maybe your marketing teams. And as you're starting to look at which teams actually need to be together, you're going to have to think about, well, how do I centralize collaboration? Because even though there have been a number of amazing developments and tools to be able to get creative departments to work collectively across different categories, across different regions and time zones, being together ultimately serves that immediacy, it serves that tangibility, and you can move a lot faster. So, look at your departments and how they're set up. Look at which departments truly do need that collaborative work environment and which ones actually are kind of best run more independently as an independent contributor. Now, certain platforms I love, there's one called Loom that I think is fantastic. You know, it gives you the opportunity to do screen share recordings, do voiceovers, very, very effective as you're working overseas and in different time zones as you're working between creative departments. But again, it's very much a one-way conversation, right? Being able to have that dialogue and that push-pull in creative oftentimes is best done in person. So trying to find ways to bridge together those groups, even if in the beginning it's getting together maybe once a week or maybe for a week-long sprint. Try to find ways of testing and experimenting with keeping your creative teams together, and then speak with your individual, again, department heads, or if it's a small team, with the individual contributors, and say, hey, where do we need to find methods to be able to collaborate better? How often do we need to have meetings that are off-site together? Perhaps it's something where you guys can all get together for a week out of the month, heavy collaboration, go back and run operationally on your own, getting together for Skype meetings or Slack meetings or Zoom meetings, etc. So those are some ways in which we can start to think about this. Now, when it comes to building out work from home and the evolution of that over time, it's very important to stay agile and nimble with it. I don't think anyone could have imagined that in this hopefully post-pandemic lifestyle here in the United States, that we'd actually be thinking about people wanting to return back into the workforce. But I can tell you firsthand how many young millennials are very keen and eager, and older Gen Zs are very keen and eager to get back into offices. And the reason why is because it really helps to bridge together networking. It bridges together your social life, and ultimately it helps our young adults move through the chain of getting those promotions, networking, and further career advancement. In fact, how else do you know how other departments operate and work if not for the opportunity to have a cocktail or a coffee or a lunch between department heads, right? Between the people who are working in those spaces. So my hope is that we actually start to create and foster environments that are going to be the most beneficial for tomorrow's leaders by helping them understand 360 the way companies operate. A very, very difficult thing to achieve and do when everyone's working from home. Now, moving further into the future, there will be some sort of hybrid work from home policies in terms of how corporations now look and small businesses look at developing their teams and their talent. I always like to say the best negotiations are where no one wins, right? At the end of the day, everyone's doing a little bit of giving in, a little bit of taking, and at the end of the day, everyone ends up within a workforce environment that ultimately serves the major goal here, which within a corporation or a small business is pushing forward the brand values, the KPIs, and the goals in order to keep that business growing and thriving. It's going to be almost impossible to do so within an entirely globally distributed team if you are a fashion company and you need to be pulling together these different kinds of nexus of talent. So be agile, be nimble, listen to your employees, make sure that your chief of culture, your chief of staff is very much in alignment and in tune with how your employees are suffering and how they're actually thriving during this time period. Lots of employees have reported not only an increase in terms of their work hours, but also a decrease in terms of productivity. People are also reporting an increase in depression, a lack of social connection and connectivity. Even as states are opening up, we thrive in environments where we have that human connection. So, last point, make sure you find ways of bridging together human connection within your small office or your corporate environments. It is now increasingly more important that we look to see each other not just as the people who are performing jobs, but as people who are contributing their time and energy towards fostering and furthering a vision that you, the founder, have set forth. Be in alignment with your vision, be clear with your employees, and make sure you take into consideration all the ways in which you can creatively build a sustainable future. All right, guys, that's all from me. Please send me an email at hello@scalalingretail.com. Would love to explore further with you the ways in which your work from home strategies are evolving, the way in which your company culture and leadership talent is evolving, and ultimately the way in which you're building a sustainable and profitable business model. Talk to you soon. Bye.